high-res, lossless, Bluetooth codecs, and so many others that claim to make your sound more spacious, crystal clear, and touch the inner strings of your heart. I have reviewed audio products for more than 5 years now, and here are what really matters, at least in my experience. Let's get started. Selamat pagi. Good morning everyone, Kenneth here, and welcome to my hopefully quick video tackling the most important things you need to look for when buying an audio product, and that includes the streaming services, the audio player, and the earbuds themselves. So I really hope this video would be useful to set your priority, where to spend the most budget on what audio gear, also hopefully help you filter out the noise. So let's cut straight to the first one in the chain, which is the source music file, and we're going to talk about streaming services first because it's the more popular option. Then I will have my thoughts on offline files, which I'm starting to build right here. So, streaming services, do you go with Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, or high-res stuff like Tidal, Qobuz, and many others? This is the first important thing you need to know. Choose well-mastered files over high-res files. Basically, mastering is the process of fine-tuning a recording. The EQ, the compression, and all the secret sauce from the audio engineers, they make a big difference on how that music is going to sound. And some music is going to get remastered over time. I know this is a rough example, but the Dolby Atmos mix of OMG by New Jeans are so much better with the Apple Music version, with placements of instruments very well separated compared to the normal standard one that's kind of just like a spatialized version of the regular music. Even though both support Dolby Atmos, that's the mastering taking action. So this idea applies to any music, and since different streaming services might use different source files, this is probably the reason why one streaming service sounds better than the other. For example, one day my friend said, YouTube Music sounds better than Spotify. And of course, I doubted him until we tried to compare just for fun. And to my surprise, YouTube Music did come out more dynamic and lively. And that was through his car built-in sound system. It wasn't anything special like that. I think it was Juicy Lucy, which is sort of a local artist. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this, but I remember the difference was real. If I have to talk in percentage, I would say mastering makes 95% of the difference, and file formats take the remaining 5%, or heck, even less, because I've never noticed a difference between OGG, Opus, AAC, heck, even MP3, given enough bitrate, which is the key. Anywhere between 256 to 320 kilobit per second, that's small b, is enough. But if you go below that, especially under 100 kilobit per second, then you will start to notice more audio compression. Basically, it sounds like a phone call that always sucks, and that you want to avoid. So what really matters when choosing different streaming services is the feature set. Personally, I like the album view of Apple Music. So every time I open up the app, I'm presented with my own music catalog and nothing else. No recommendations, no ads, just my music albums. Yes, the recommendations are sometimes hit or miss. I kind of like the made for you here. But personally, I love the lyric view right here, especially on the big screen. And also the karaoke feature is pretty fun. And it's got nice to have things like the Apple integrations, Dolby Atmos, which sounds pretty cool on the Mac, and high-res lossless for the same price tag. Now, what about Spotify? The most popular streaming service in the world has arguably better recommendation, but the interface is just not my cup of tea. As you can see, when I first open the app, I'm presented with radio, charts, and if I go to my own library, it can make it into a grid view like this, but it's not only my album. It's some artists are here, the playlists are also here, and if you can see, if I play like this, and inside, it's not really for me. However, I really love how they do multi-device streaming and how you can control one device from another. For example, my laptop is connected to a speaker and I can control it through my phone with the same Spotify app here. I don't know why Spotify is the only one that can do this until now, but that's just pure magic. And last but not least, here we have YouTube Music that I recently subscribed through YouTube Premium. The interface is a blend of Spotify and Apple Music, but what drew me in is the recommendation that's almost like magic. So when I open the app, I can choose one of the few quick picks right here, and it'll automatically play similar genres, which I almost always like, which is very quick and easy when I'm about to drive. For example, let's try it here, some of the Coldplay song, and I can go to relate it, and I can have even more options for me to choose myself, or I can see the up next, what are the autoplays going to put? Familiar, indie, bell, and stuff like that. That's just insane. Music catalog is also a big reason why you'd pick one over the other, especially for high-res services like Tidal, Qobuz. Sometimes you might not see up-and-coming artists that you want to listen to, and YouTube Music in this regard is special because you have access to literally the world's largest catalog of covers and remixes, and I can already name some like Chaewon's First Love cover, or one of my all-time favorite, Always Be My Baby by David Cook. I can name a ton more, but it's one huge selling point of YouTube Music, aside from getting ad-free YouTube in the package as well, which I cannot live without these days. That's why I stuck with it despite already having Apple Music as my main music streaming service. So my recommendation is try out all the free trials, see if they work for you, and at the end of the day, if you're happy, then everyone's happy. Okay, now let's talk about offline files, which is the music that you actually buy and own. My principle is still the same. Better mastering over digital format wars, because when you go up online, you will find CD quality stuff. These are 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit, and if you see, they are more affordable than high-res files. That's got numbers above that. But here's the thing. If you buy digital stuff, you're free to do as your wallet commands. For me personally, if I'm spending my hard-earned money, I'd rather have a physical copy that I can collect. And everything that I bought so far either come with a special edition case or even collectibles that you just can't get with streaming services. Heck, I even tried my best to persuade my friends to help me buy Tuki's album because there is a rock version of Love Expiration Date that's not available on any streaming services, which is a freaking genius move, and I love it. So that's pretty much everything from the Source Music side, and hit the thumbs up if this has been helpful so far. Also subscribe for a ton more audio stuff to review, and let's move on to the next step, which is the hardware that plays the music. Starting with the simple one, the wireless stuff. What really matters is, of course, the sound quality here, which is what I talk about first in my reviews. But also with true wireless earbuds, how practical they are is very critical. The most important one is build quality. Is it comfortable? Then the battery life. My bare minimum is 4 hours. Then get ANC transparency if you need to suppress noise, or get open ears like this if you need to listen to your surroundings. And also whether they have multi-point connection or great app support. Then there are some nice additions like the IPX7 water resistance, wireless charging, muting mic during phone calls, or adaptive ANC, which I really love from the AirPod Pro 2. It kind of selects which kind of noise to let through and suppress. And finally, there are quirky stuff that you can try or just ignore, like heart rate detection, shiny LED lights, or spatial audio and head tracking. These are the things you need to consider before buying wireless earbuds. But in any case, if you want the best sound quality, you have to go wired, because all the money you're spending will be mostly for the driver. For example, a $65 Truth Ear Zero Red would easily sound better than any $300 True Wireless earbuds, and with that same amount of money, whether with this Tantrum Origin or a full Performer, I think this is more expensive, you can get a far better sound quality than any wireless earbuds can ever do. So you gotta pick the right tool for the job, and I recommend not comparing wired to wireless unless it's out of curiosity. With that said, when going wired, you're presented with so much stuff. There's the music player, which is either a dedicated DAP or your phone. Then if your phone doesn't have an audio jack, you need to buy dongle DACs. Then you need to think about the IEM or the headphones, which one suits your taste the best. You see, this could confuse the heck out of people, but basically I recommend picking features that you need right now. For example, now I need to connect my phone to a wired IEM. Then don't think too much and just get an Apple USB-C dongle. It's enough for most use cases. It's $9. You can just plug it into your headphone and that's it. But let's say you want to fine-tune the sound or get something more durable. Then you can get something like this Tantrum Stargate 2 with an app support for parametric EQ. Or I also remember FIO GA11 also does the same at a very affordable $15. But then let's say you want to make your IEM wireless, which in my experience sounds about 90% the same. I still got my first ever Bluetooth DAC, the FIO BTR5, or my brother recently bought Snow Sky Retro Nano. This is also from FIO. They look super cool. They are so much more affordable and they add convenience because you can just plug in your wired headphone, pocket it, and use your phone like normal without any wires annoying you. And of course, there are true wireless adapters as well, where you attach it immediately to these earbuds. And finally, if you need a dedicated digital audio player, or in short, a DAP, a DAP, it can do everything we talked so far and play offline music files. Like this entry-level $209 Shanling M1 Plus. I love when I'm outside without internet, I can simply hit play and just listen to music. Of course, there are more expensive models with Android inside, so you can install streaming apps or even a full-on smartphone like the Moondrop Mia 01 right here. And then finally, we move on to the IEM side. Please, please, please don't obsess too much about the multiple driver configurations, whether it's dynamic driver, balanced armature, planar drivers, electrostatic and stuff like that. Cable material is also a beast in itself. At the end of the day, the tuning is what matters. The end result of how it sounds is what matters. And since everyone has their own personal preference, I really encourage you to go to a local audio store, try things out for yourself and see if you like it. If you do, check the IEM frequency response graph, and I'm starting to build mine on Squigglink as well. Thank you, Mark from Super Review, for that. And you'll see how your preferred sound will look like. Speaking of cables, you might bump into 4.4mm balanced connection a lot these days. And without getting too technical, they basically deliver higher power, which translates to higher volume. So let's say with 3.5mm, you're listening at 50%. You might only need 30% or even below 20% with a balanced connection, which is not needed in most IEMs, except for planar, hard to drive IEMs like KZPRX. That's one example. But with headphones, it's a different story because we need a lot of power to drive that huge driver. Also, some cables are braided like this, some are very thin like this. You pick the ones that you like the most based on functionality. So that's pretty much everything that I have to share for now. Like someone said to me before, and now I pass it on to you. Welcome to the audio rabbit hole. Hopefully this video will help you get started. And like I said, drop a comment if you have any question. I'll put some of my favorite stuff in the description for you to check out as well. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Kenneth, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.